Hey there, so today we have another review, and this is a beer from Kulmbacher, and this is their Eisbock. So this is a pretty special style. This is not going to be a basic beer videos where we delve really deep into the style, or somewhat deep into the style. But this is a traditional German beer, and it is an Eisbock. So it is ice and it's bock beer. So this beer comes in at 9.2%. This is generally the biggest style that comes in the German styles of beer. And from what I understand, I think this is the original, by the way, original Eisbock. And Eisbock was invented after full wooden barrels left out of the brew yard after a dead winter, blah, blah, blah. And so pretty much what happens is that this is sort of the most analogous thing would be like your, natty ice or something. Pretty much what you do is you create a beer, you freeze it, and guess what freezes? The water. Shave off that water, and what do you have? A beer that is now higher percentage because you've removed some of that water. So that's sort of what they've done with this beer, and traditionally this is what they do with the style. And I think Schneider does one, but this is my first time trying this one out, and pretty much there's a Doppelbock that they've sort of like amped up. So there's a little bit of like crud on the top of the cap, possible issues with storing, who knows. Yeah. But anyway, this is imported by Shelton, and no clue what that code means. There's 2747231. Who knows? So the beer comes in a wonderful kind of medium to medium brown color with this kind of light to medium tan head. You have light to medium bubbles on there. Looks pretty nice. Yeah. Pretty much looks like your American brown ale or something like that, but. So there is just that general kind of like bock kind of just yeastiness to it. If you have enough of bock beers, you sort of get this theme of kind of just the lager yeast. The expression of the lager yeast is like, it's hard to describe, but it's, yeah, you guys can post in comments below if you know the word. I wish I could really explain it. It's sort of something with experience where you sort of like get, learn more and more after experience, and you sort of say like, okay, well, you can clearly tell, well, here you go. The review is going to be a little bit longer. I guess I didn't expect this, but it's something like, I just wanted to crack into this beer because it's the first time trying it. I just want to dig into it and give you guys my first impression. One of my first impressions is that this reminds me of Bock, and it's clean. It's a little too clean. Generally, with a lot of your beers in this kind of higher ABV, kind of like brownish range, they end up having a little bit more ester profile. You sort of can tell if it's going to be a British beer. British beers, for me, have this kind of like very pure kind of appley thing, especially with the Fuller G strain. It also doesn't quite seem to have the maltiness, the depth of something like a Scottish beer, but possibly we're there. I could probably say that I can most surely say we're not in America. So this is one of the tricks you learn in tasting beer. You try to like figure out what country you're in. So clearly I'm in America. Clearly I'm in Czech Republic. I'm not drinking no, maybe. But I'm also not in Belgium, right? Yeah, the Belgian beers are generally a lot more ester and phenolic forward. So there's just this general kind of like malty meh thing, so that like tells you that you're probably in lager world and probably you're in Germany. But then again, you could be in the range of like a brownish kind of Scottish or British beer. So what do I get? I get a little bit of cocoa. I get this kind of like leathery kind of thing going on. A little bit this kind of like light date note. The malt complexity shows signs of like this kind of like bread crust Maillard reaction. It's clean. Cheers. A little bit of booze. These brown beers are hard. Yeah. So despite the fact that I was trying to pick out countries that this couldn't be in, this could easily be slotted into the British and Scottish / German range of beers. And maybe I should do the video, guys, where I have a Doppelbock, a wee heavy, and like a British English barley wine or something like that. It was right in that range of beers. So what does it taste like? It tastes what it looks like. It's sugary. It's malt forward. There's this lot of bread crust going on. There's a little bit of light cocoa note. It has this kind of like, what do I describe it? It's like A little bit of fruity sweetness in there, despite being lager. But it's exceptionally clean as well. But that could be a trick, because there could be some of these beers that have a little bit hoppy quality, right? You could be in the range of a traditional style kind of British beer where they have a little bit of hop kind of quality, sort of like snap up the beer and dry it out. The booze is well hidden. Wow. A little bit of sharp alcohol that comes in, but again, this is 9.2%. It's not that much bigger than something like, or that much more intense than something like a lot of your traditional German Doppelbock. So it's actually quite hard to really pick out how this really separates itself from an Eigener Celebrator, a Polana Salvatore, or something like that. And then also with some of your, again, Scottish wee heavies and your English barley wines, your whole range of British winter warmer, strong ale, etc., etc. But hey, out of the entire BJCP category of 80 plus styles, I probably locked it down to wee heavy, British strong ale, winter warmer, English barley wine, German Doppelbock, German Eisbock. Knowing what this beer is, obviously. Full blind, maybe I could lock it in, but I'm just trying to tell you guys that this is not easy trying to do these, review these beers and think about the range of doing the full blind and also depict the differences between the range of beers. Because ideally, you're trying to talk about this beer and trying to explain this is what it tastes. But if I just showed you my video, could you really tell what beer I was talking about if I just gave you my tasting notes, right? And so it's really the hard range, really to find the little bit of intense points where you need to find what makes this that beer. And I will tell you right now, there's a little bit of creaminess to this beer. Carbonation is pretty light, but then again, you can do that with the British Scottish beers. Right now, I'm just not tasting anything very specific that tells me that this is here nor there kind of thing. It probably doesn't have enough yeast quality to it to make it sort of British, but it could possibly be in the range of a Scottish beer if I was full blind. It really just tastes a lot like a Scottish where you have your Doppelbock or something like that. Just a little bit of woodsy note, a little bit of caramel coming in. There's that bread crust coming in, that Maillard. The woodsiness is actually quite prominent on this one. A little bit of warming, but again, 9.2%. We're talking about some of your bigger Doppelbocks out there as well. And maybe one of the tricks is that it's just a little touch too clean, but that could be the faint yeast quality of a Scottish beer, or it could just be German lager yeast. So there's a little bit of a dry date. So instead of juicy kind of fruits that you might get from a Belgian beer or some of your maltier expressive beers, this has that kind of dried fruit thing, but not super intense. So dried dates, I guess, would be my best analogy. A little bit woodsy, the kind of malt depth in here, restrained sweetness, nice and clean on the yeast profile. It's tasty freaking beer. It's very good. That is good. This would be great with rich dishes. I'm thinking lamb right now, duck, seared duck with a nice kind of rich kind of prune sauce with that, playing with the dried fruit in here and then amping up those fruity qualities. Thinking desserts too. Cheese, boy. This is in the range of Crusher with triple cream, blue cheese, all those Roquefort and all that kind of fun stuff. So anyway, I know you might have stepped into here with a simple kind of Darwin's beer reviews, kind of just let's talk about the beer, give it a rating, blah blah. But for me, this is a fun one to sort of investigate. I've never had this beer before, and how do I deductively taste what I'm having in this beer and try to separate it from just having another malty British / Scottish ale or German Doppelbock in here. What do I actually taste? And it's hard. Tasting is very hard. So post in comments below if you've had Kulmbacher Eisbock, and if you'd like to see me do another Eisbock, or if you'd like to see me do another kind of deductive, kind of tasting video. It's really fun. This is a delicious beer. That's our rating. There's something about it. The carb is really wispy and it's got this really nice creaminess to it. Almost there's this kind of coffee note to it, and this lactose added to it. It's got this beautiful sweetness that comes in, but it's not cloying at all. So it's almost like a little bit barley wine-ish. It's super crazy. So honestly, full blind, I probably would have guessed this would have been like an English barley wine or a Scottish wheat heavy. Would never have gone to, or probably would not have gone to Eisbock. Maybe would have guessed Doppelbock, because that smell is just, this distinctive smell that I can't really describe to you guys. It just has this maltiness with like the lager yeast just smells like something, you know? Again, go out of your way. Get some Maibox, get some Dunkelbocks, get some Doppelbocks, and you just learn that there's a certain aroma that comes off of Doppelbocks and some of your darker German lagers versus more different kind of Scottish and British beers, and pretty fun. And then obviously it'll be quite different from your American brown ales and your American barley wines, stuff like that. So tasting. This beer for me gets a tasty freaking beer. This is very good. It's so refined. It just does everything so well and quietly, and just like, again, you know, I previously just actually reviewed the Even More Jesus, which you punch your face kind of sipper. This is like, probably sip on, instead of like half the amount, probably do want to sip on this whole bottle. It's just so enjoyable, and probably definitely share it. But like, it's so enjoyable. It's so clean. 96. This is an absolute delight. I think it's a great return to sort of classic styles and just something that like is well made without like, oh, I'm throwing lactose into this one, I'm throwing coffee in this one, I'm throwing all, you know, all these adjuncts. And I think craft beer has definitely moved in that range. But anyway, this is honestly a lot of rambling, a lot less review, and more about just like Darwin enjoying a beer and talking to you guys. And I hope you guys enjoy that. Sorry for the long video. Until next time, guys. Cheers. Later.